Hi everyone. I would like to suggest, before we start, because I see that some tables abandoned us, table 6, table 9, if at least the people sitting in the very rear could come a little bit closer, maybe take table number 12. That will really help me. We're going to have an interactive session. So while you're here, maybe even, I don't know, talk to people, exchange some contact details. Would it be possible? Thanks. That makes it much more rewarding for me as a speaker, seeing faces as opposed to just screens. Ta-da, that's the keynote. And that's me. And these are the brands that I used to work for. So I spent 18 years of my life thinking, making things better, making the world a better place, creating a better everyday life for the many people, creating the beauty that moves the world, and also focusing at the heart of the image. So I have a lot of marketeers here in the room. Do you recognize any of the brands? Come on, don't be shy. Think? Doesn't ring a bell? All right, so think used to be a very, very cool marketing slogan until Apple came with Think Different. Any clues? No. All right, so that was IBM. I'm going to just reveal that. This is the brand reveal. So I spent 18 years working in digital marketing roles for those companies and lovely, lovely brands. I have a passion for design, and that might be one of the reasons why Dyson also resonated with me, being a brand that really focuses on design following function. So it's one of those love and hate brands. Either you're a fan or you would never ever put anything looking like that into your house. Philips. So Philips doesn't really need an introduction on a Dutch turf. It's a heritage brand over 100 years ago, and they've been known for innovations such as the CD player, DVD player, top appliances. And nowadays, Philips is shrinking. Unfortunately, it's becoming but smaller, which is focusing on the core. IKEA, democratic design. So very often starting with a end price point in mind, and only then engineering it back into the product. I moved on to Nikon, a Japanese company focused very much at the image, at the heart of the image. And that was the time of big transition. So with the traditional digital cameras and mobile phones competing, and digital photography going from the amateur to the professional. So after that, I decided to spread my wings. I'm, by the way, a fan of everything Japanese, including origami. And once a nerd, always a nerd. And I switched industries to beauty, but beauty also being digital beauty. So you may not know that L'Oréal is actually the biggest beauty brand in the world, and it also owns quite a lot of tech, including even filters that you can use, ladies, if you're conducting Microsoft Teams calls. There's a very cool one by Maybelline which just puts your makeup on, and even though you're just out of bed, you look glamorous. So you might be thinking, all right, where is the red dot? Where is the connecting theme? It's not the color yellow. It was really about design for me. It was about design and about the functionality and about products that really touch people's lives. That said, I now have an empty slide and an empty slate. There are no more products. What I do fill my day, though, are conversations, and they are meaningful conversations. I work mainly with professionals like you, very often in the marketing industry, because that is the industry that I also know best. And we're having conversations. We're having a lot of conversations about what is working, what is not working, and what is a struggle for them. And one of the biggest topics that I hear is focus. There's just not enough time to do everything, and too much overwhelm. It's coming from all sides. So the small brand, one that was also on my slide, is LaMatu, and that is the company that I'm the founder of. Preparing for this presentation, I was thinking, all right, would I quote? So I come up with a question, what would Steve Jobs say? And there it is. So don't make any pictures. Please don't make any pictures of that particular slide because that is fake news. That is actually not something Steve Jobs said. Yeah, we're in Amsterdam. So never get high on your own supplier. I'm talking to marketeers. I'm talking to people who work in digital marketing. And that is really my message to you. What he did say in an interview, though, is that he never allowed his own children to use the iPads, and he explained his reasons for it as well. So that should leave you with some thinking. But we're going to go back in time. We're going to go back in time, rewind, until the very first big media invention, being the printing press. Then came the telegraph. It lasted several centuries until humanity came up with something groundbreaking again. And then it sped up a bit. So I do use product placement, full disclosure. That is a Nikon camera. That's obviously not the camera from 1816. That one was much more bulky. It's the first mass market camera. Then the typewriter, that is one of the original ones. The telephone, the light bulb, which is again product placement, but I'm being very open about it. Radio, again, a Philips one, a really cool model, and obviously that is not the one from 1894. And a television. If any of you ever found that model in their attic, you'd be very, very rich. Mahogany wall. It's like an iconic piece of design. And then all of a sudden, a magazine. So think about it. 1923 was the first year when humanity was able to circulate news on a weekly basis. We were never able, before that time and age, to distribute news before it became obsolete faster than within 1 week. And we're just 100 years later. Next milestone would be the IBM, the personal computer. 2007, the iPhone. And from then on, I don't really have any cool products to show because the innovation is no longer about product. The innovation is about the solutions. So social media emerged 2000s. And today we reached the moment of 43 minutes, 143 minutes average daily spent. So I've been watching, in my previous roles, I've been watching these statistics where year after year climbing up. And last year, something interesting happened. All of a sudden, they started going down. So that's a cool trend to watch, especially as you're a marketeer. I'm going to be using bits of psychology. I'm going to be using bits of what I learned in my career as a digital marketeer. And the question I'd like to pose is, why do we check? Why do we keep checking the news? So this is my demo of a dating app. And we have those two characters. So one is the Cookie Monster. The Cookie Monster being like a press officer who really, really wants to know everything, wants to know the details, wants to be in the know, doesn't want to miss out on important facts and information. And then we have the other guy, which is a character from Moomins. And that is Grok. And that is representing fear. And that is the fear of not having the information, of whatever might happen if we miss out. So is there anything bad with us wanting to be in the know of you attending this conference and subscribing to a lot of notifications and receiving all kinds of information? Well, in essence, not. The intention is to protect ourselves and survive. However, our brain is no longer able to tackle all of that influx. So then we have the growth, which in the moments wherever it comes, it freezes the ground under its feet and everything around it. And it's the fear, and fear really is like that. Fear is paralyzing. So the fear, 4 types really. The fear of change, the fear of the unknown, the fear of loss of control, and ultimately, yes, it is the fear of death, because if we don't know the change is happening, we don't know exactly what kind of change, what the impact is going to be on us. We're getting a feeling of, or we're out of control. We don't really know how to prepare. We don't know what to do. And what it does boil down to, well, if we're not ready to react, our whole life and well-being can be threatened. So human needs are also being fulfilled by the news. Otherwise, they wouldn't have grown so in such an exponential rate. And what do we expect from the news? First of all, we expect safety. Why do we check? I see some of you guys checking stuff. Okay, if I check, I'm going to feel better. I'm going to feel safer. I will feel in control of the situation because maybe there's that one email that I really, really need to respond and I need to know. Second, actionable steps. So do I get concrete instructions, like a concrete manual, concrete steps that I need to take? The third one is closure. There is some question we have in our minds that we really, really, really want to have answered. Need for closure, and we talked about storytelling earlier on, is why we finished watching a movie, or are we fast forward to at least know what the ending was. And last is hope. The very last is hope. So there is a lot of fear-mongering in news. And why is there a lot of fear-mongering? Because it works. So this is also one of the persuasion tactics used on the ethics of which you can ask your own questions. And there is more and more a trend I'm noticing when I talk to people of trying to protect themselves, or of understanding that this is really too much, especially with the amount of crisis that we're being exposed to, a news cycle being 1 second, not even 1 week as 100 years ago. It's becoming too much and we're not able to cope anymore. When we look at the news, because now I'm really talking about the news outlets, the 24/7 cycle of news, when you think of the call to action, so say you're gonna go and watch BBC, CNN, Nu.nl, or whatever your daily dosage of news fixes, what is the real call to action? I think maybe of their digital outlet. So either the app or the website. Is there even a call to action? So if you bring back to your memory the way the website or the app looks like, there isn't really call to action from the news pieces, is there? The real call to action is the advertising on the top, on the bottom, on the left, on the right. So that is what the advertising media giants are paying for. There is a term called attention economy. We have already moved from product economy. So I started my presentations with lovely pictures of beautifully designed products. We have already moved the stage of being in the product economy, and we entered the stage of attention economy. So the attention economy started when the consumer became the product. So it's really no longer about, it's a paradigm shift. It's no longer about buying products, but it's about buying attention. And it was first observed already in the 70s and was very controversial and kind of discarded. But already there, Richard Serra said in a very famous controversial exhibition that the product of the television is its audience. You are the product of television. You are delivered to the advertiser, who is the customer, and he consumes you. So it's turning it all around because we like to think about, oh, I bought this product, I bought this cool gadget, I bought this design, I bought this subscription. So if we were to take that hypothesis that you are the products, what is the price? Because it's the core of the 4 marketing piece, right? Product, price, place, promotion. So if you are the product, what is the price that you're paying? The price might be in dollars, the price might be in euros, the price might be in productivity, it might be in focus, it might be in time that you are not dedicating to self-care, to your family, to your pursuits, to your mission, to your purpose. The third one was the need for closure. So as human beings, we like the information loop to close. Whenever there is a question posed, we like the answer. We need the answer. This is what our brain feeds on. However, when you look at the news messages, it actually feeds on open loops. Because why do you go back to check the news? Because you were not given the answer the last time you checked. And so you keep checking back and you keep checking back and you keep checking back. And it becomes the never-ending story in a bit less positive sense than that lovely never-ending story. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. Before my whole keynote gets very, very gloomy, I want to bring a little more positive element. So there is always hope. However, also hope can be manipulated. So we keep checking our inbox, we keep checking our WhatsApp, we keep checking our Instagram, we keep checking our media websites, and we're pressing that lever as in the very famous psychological experiment by Skinner, and that is the most humane picture I could find to use because none of them, I mean, they're pretty awful visuals if you were to look at it in photography terms. But we all keep pressing the lever, hoping for the pallet with the food to come down. And we're feeding hope. The downside of feeding hope is really the mechanism of addiction. And that is what we are seeing nowadays in tremendous ways. So studies show that people touch their phones on average 2,617 times. Let it just sink in. This is just touching. So heavy users will touch their phone 5,000 times a day. It's difficult to measure that because that is not inbuilt in your phone statistics. However, there are other statistics that you can check. 2006 is the time when the infinite scroll was invented, and it's really a pretty diabolical invention, which even its own founder and inventor really had a lot of ethical concerns about afterwards. So he switched industries, he started doing something different. But yeah, the concept of infinite scroll is basically hacking our brain and making it almost impossible to stop. Whereas before that, you would need to press on next page, next page, next page. Recent statistics, so that's January 2024. The average daily time spent using social media is 123 minutes, so it's over 2 hours. Then probably, I don't know how many countries we have represented here, but hopefully you can recognize your country here. The very lowest is Japan, 53. So you see a lot of countries, well-developed countries. You also see some Nordic countries, Western Europe here on that side. The Netherlands is actually also super low, so it's just 90 minutes. However, If you move to the other side of the scale, you see countries such as Kenya, South Africa, Brazil, Philippines, Nigeria, Colombia, Chile, Mexico, Indonesia. So that also shows a disparity of the world. And you can also ask yourself, how does a person even have 223 minutes per day to spend on social media platforms? Right? That's an interesting question, and it also shows disparity in the world. 96 times per day unlocking the phone. These are American statistics. 10 minutes in between unlocking the phone. 139 minutes spent using social media. So you can say, well, these are just numbers. But that is what happens when the constant anticipation, so feeding hope, means infinite scrolling. That is designed. Now the question to you is, do you know your own numbers? Are you maybe getting high on your own supply? Digital marketeers. Everyone's very quiet. It's super easy to check. It's in your settings, no matter which appliance you use. I'm agnostic. Like, is it an Apple? Is it an Android? Doesn't matter. But yeah, maybe take a sneak peek and see. Is it more than the average? Is it less? Are you happy with the numbers? Would you like to change something about them? So now that you have your phones already in your hands, I would like to invite everyone to stand up for a little experiment. And for the purpose of the experiment, choose your poison. Choose wisely. Choose the website, because I'm really talking about a news outlet here, that you would pull out your phone for while you're in the queue, maybe while you're in the at the airport or waiting for the metro to arrive, and kind of killing time and getting up to speed, being a good citizen, knowing what's happening in the world. And you'll get a little task, and the task is to mindlessly scroll through that social media outlet. Maybe choose a story, an article to read. There's only one rule. You cannot reply, you cannot forward it, you cannot press a heart, you cannot you can actually not take any action except for consuming. And the time starts now. So mindless scrolling, reading, consuming, no action. And time's up. So I'm a believer in experiential learning because I can show you a lot of quotes. I can put a lot of statistics on the slides, and it's gonna look very nice and fancy on this big screen. But experience is really the best teacher. So, question number one. After having consumed that piece of news that you've just consumed, Do you feel safe and in control of the situation? If so, keep standing. And if it left you a little bit worried, maybe anxious, maybe insecure, please sit down. So if there was anything in the news that left like, ooh, and if you do feel fully in control of the situation, if you're feeling safe, keep standing. Okay. Question number 2. Did you get concrete and actionable steps? Do you know exactly what to do now? If so, keep standing. If not, sit down. You know what's coming, right? Question number 3. Did you get a sense of closure? Is it done? Like done, done, done? Is the information look close? Or will you sneakily maybe tomorrow check again? Okay. It happens most of the time. Well, question number 4. Did the message bring you hope? I've done this experiment with many, many audiences, and the result is inevitably always the same. Everyone's sitting down. So successful people ask better questions, and as a result, they get better answers. That's the personal development guru, who doesn't like to call himself guru, Anthony Robbins. It's going to be a bit different Q&A session, because it's really rhetorical questions that you can ask yourself. Am I getting high on my own supply? Do my messages induce more fear or hope? The messages that you put out in the world. And it might be marketing messages, it might be just emails you're sending to your team, or Slack messages that you're posting on a channel. Do they fulfill my audience's need for safety? Does the team know what they need to do? Do they provide actionable steps? And is there a sense of closure? This could also be instructions of writing a really good email, right? So when does information lead to stress formation? Well, when it's simply too much and too fast, and we cannot digest it. So think back to Time, which cost 50 cents at the time of its first edition, to 1923. When we study the trending news, so the hashtags, it's also very easy to see how long does a trending news remain trending news. And we see that trending news are trending news shorter and shorter. So while a couple of years ago it would still be 12 hours, now it's not even 12 hours. And trending news is really something from the last 6 hours. And why hashtag focus? Yeah, it's causing us focus. That is really the price we're paying. So
I can't do negative today.
So we need a lot of positivity to counteract all the negative news that are around. The sweet spot is really in between the boredom and anxiety. So if you find for yourself that you spend a lot of your time in an anxiety mode or in the boredom mode, the sweet spot to search more and try and stay in more often would be the state of focus and flow. However, you can never be in a focus and flow if your attention is so fragmented that you don't spend longer than a couple of minutes on one task. It's impossible to get in a state of in the zone. So Michał Csikszentmihalyi is the scientist who coined the term flow, and he said that enjoyment appears on the boundary between boredom and anxiety, when the challenges are just balanced with a person's capacity to act. When I talk about attention problems with my coaching clients, it's usually one of the 4 leaks that happen. A lot of the time it is boredom. The job is just not stimulating enough. So it's insufficient stuff coming at them. A lot of the times it's actually too much internal stuff happening. So it's their own emotions or their own internal talk. It might be excessive external stimuli, so maybe some noise coming from outside, or an open plan office, or working from home, other people in the household. And the fourth one is very simple. So it's just simply you're not hydrated, or you haven't eaten enough, so your brain doesn't have enough fuel, or you've eaten not the right things, and then your sugar spikes and crashes. Okay, recognizable? Yeah, I had one of those today morning. All right, so when we're out of focus, um, I find that most people come to the office to play ping pong. And what I'm not referring to is the image of a fancy office with, I'm sure you've seen them. Some have this, some have foosball, some have billboards, some have other games. I don't mean literally playing table tennis. What I mean is being in a reactive mode and continually trying to react to whatever is coming at you. And what they don't realize is that there is an on and off button on this game on, and that you're in charge to control the slider. The price of task switching, or your attention going from the world news to what's going on at home, to one channel to another, one platform to another, is really that your attention is, so imagine these are little ping pong balls, is that there is context switching happening, and you never get into the sense of flow and deep focus. And there is a lag time. So once you switch task from one to another, part of your attention, like part of your soul, is still occupied with the task that you've been dealing with before. We are not able, unfortunately, maybe one day we will, but we're not able to fully switch completely from one task to another. Yet our attention is selective, so some things call our attention. If somebody called my name from outside, my attention would be immediately out there. So what is a healthy diet, to continue on the food example? It's somewhere between fasting and binging, right? It's a balance, always about balance. One of the trends that are getting bigger and bigger, especially in the summertime. I see this really, really a lot. Some people who never succeeded throughout the year, they at least try and do it during their holidays, and that is the dopamine fasting. Going off social media, or even going off their phone. So I don't know, has any of you ever deleted any social media app? Yeah, probably, yeah. And have you, so you can ask yourself which and why. And how long did it take until you installed it? Right? We very often have this idea, okay, I can live without it. And then the fear of missing out kicks in, and you're missing out on social interactions, and bang. Actually, the apps that are being installed and uninstalled most are the dating apps. The people are just like, I can't deal with it anymore. It's like, okay, here we go again. So there are statistics about it, and who uninstalls which apps how often, and it's different for generations, it's different for women, and it's different for men. In a nutshell, it's women who eventually do reinstall the apps. I guess the community aspect and belonging and being part of the conversation is very important. So yeah, I'll go back to the Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Attention is like energy, in that without it, no work can be done. And we create ourselves by the use of this energy. Memories, thoughts, feelings are all shaped by how we use it. And it is an energy under control to do it as we please. Hence, attention is our most important tool in the task of improving the quality of the experience. And I believe nowadays more than ever, it is really important to take control and not go on autopilot. So how do you slow down in a world that is speeding up? Go back to the basics, go back to the roots. And yeah, good old print. Why does Bill Gates take 1 week of holidays each year to shut himself in a cabin in the mountains with a pile of books? Like, you can't help but wonder. The guy needs to know something. So I have a book recommendation list. I know this is maybe not the most digestible way to consume it, but if you just drop me a message through whichever channel you wish, I'm happy to send it in a way that you can upload it on whatever app you want. If you read digitally or if you use good old print, it will also be easier to find it. Actually, I have a little aid. Could I ask you to open the pouch that is on the table? Yeah. And just give everyone one of those. So I prepare bookmarks because you might forget a lot of what we've spoken about, and maybe one day you will find the bookmark in your bag. It's like, yeah, Monika talked about books and why it's really important for the brain. It is actually really, really scary that we read less and less, and people struggle to finish a book. People struggle to even get through the first chapter, and that is the price that we're paying because our brain got trained for continuous dopamine shots and keeps reaching out for the phone a lot of the time. So there they are. All my contact details are there. I'm a human being. I don't have an avatar. I'm not AI optimized. So drop me a note. I'm really happy to connect. If this conversation, more of a monologue, unfortunately. But if it triggered you to continue some form of a conversation, please do reach out. I'm always happy to hear what you thought, what you discovered for yourself during this talk. Hope you had a lot of light bulb moments, and you'll bring them back to your office to talk to your colleagues, people that you live with. And I'm going to end with a quote from The Truman Show, which is all about media, right? So that is a good morning. And in case I don't get to see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Thank you very much.